At a backyard barbecue, my grandpa clinked his beer bottle and said loud enough for half the neighborhood to hear. "It was so generous of you to co-sign your sister's mortgage." I choked on my drink. "My name is Camilla. And from wherever you're watching this, tell me in comments, have you ever realized your family used your name like it was theirs?" I turned to Grandpa slowly, the lemon wedge from my drink still pressed against my lips. "What mortgage?" I asked. My grandpa blinked like I was joking. "The house. Gina's house. Your mom said you stepped in when the bank asked for a co-signer." He chuckled, reaching for the potato salad. "You're the responsible one, Cam. Good kid." I glanced at my sister across the patio. She didn't meet my eyes. She just fiddled with her baby's bib like she hadn't heard a thing. "And my mother, oh my mother," she giggled. "You did, in your sleep maybe," she said, waving it off like some charming family anecdote. The laughter was light. Harmless. Like this wasn't identity theft. Like this wasn't fraud. But the air in my lungs turned to tar. I stared at my lemonade, then at my hands. I hadn't signed anything. I hadn't even spoken to a loan officer in years. And I sure as hell hadn't agreed to vouch for Gina, a woman who once borrowed my college car and left it totaled on the side of I-40. I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I smiled. Played the role. But that night, I opened my laptop and ordered a credit report so fast I burned my fingerprint into the mousepad. When I saw the document, I sat very still. Gina's mortgage. My name. My social. My signature. But the signature wasn't mine. It was shaky. Planted. Wrong. Like someone had traced my name through tears or gin. I should have cried. I should have screamed. But instead I whispered, "They really did it." The people I called family had sold off pieces of me, for a white fence and a 2-car garage. And I was going to burn every inch of it down. Legally. Because when they stole my name, they forgot I owned it. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan spinning like the thoughts in my head, fast, sharp, and useless. Every time I blinked, I saw my sister's smile at the barbecue, sweet and smug. I saw my mother's laugh, like this was a joke, a game. It wasn't. They had forged my name. On a federal document. And they thought I wouldn't find out. By sunrise, I was at my dining table with 2 cups of black coffee, my laptop, and a pen I didn't remember gripping that hard. I printed everything. The mortgage approval, the loan terms, the closing statement. All with my name in ink I never laid down. I knew a few things for certain. 1, they had access to my social. 2, someone had a decent copy of my signature. 3, and most chilling, someone at that bank didn't do their job. I called out of work. First time in 4 years. Then I did something my family never expected. I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. A beast named Meredith Blackwell. She was the type who smiled like a blade, soft, sharp, and silent. I told her everything, sent every document. She read it all, then said calmly, "They committed felony fraud. You're going to let me take it from here." Meredith moved fast. By Friday we'd filed a formal dispute with the bank, notified the credit bureaus, and submitted a fraud affidavit. But the cherry on top? Meredith contacted the underwriter. And guess what? There was no in-person verification. Just a phone call and a scanned signature. "You're telling me," I asked slowly, "they approved a mortgage over the phone with no ID?" "Because your sister brought her baby to the branch," Meredith replied. "It's amazing how fast a crying child makes paperwork disappear." I was numb. Then livid. The bank wanted to reassess. Gina and my mother? Silent. Not a single call, not even a fake apology text. I knew what that meant. They were hoping it would blow over. That I'd do what I always did, keep quiet for the sake of peace. But this wasn't a family squabble over Thanksgiving seating. They forged my name to steal a life they didn't earn. And I was about to make sure that house, the one they smiled in like it was theirs, was built on quicksand. You ever notice how silence gets loud when people know they're guilty? That weekend I didn't hear a peep from Gina. Not a text, not a thanks for the house, not even a panicked emoji. My mother, who normally sent chain messages every morning about blessings and gratitude, suddenly went dark too. It was like they sensed something shifting. And they were right. By Monday the bank's fraud department was in full spin mode. They called me 3 times, just to clarify the situation. They asked if maybe I had forgotten signing the mortgage, if perhaps I'd authorized it verbally. I laughed. Do you think I co-sign a $400,000 loan in my sleep? Pause. Then the rep cleared her throat and said, "We'll be following up shortly." Meanwhile, Meredith was surgical. She contacted the notary listed on the documents. A retired woman who, surprise, had never met me. She confirmed it was a walk-in appointment with just Gina and my mother present. No ID check. No verification. That was the nail in the coffin. Meredith filed a formal complaint with the state attorney general. She even drafted a letter to the mortgage insurer. And just like that, the walls started to creak. But here's the part that broke me. I found out when they did it. It was the week after I had surgery. I was on pain meds, drifting in and out of sleep, completely dependent on my mother for rides and food. That's when she took my purse and made a copy of my license. That's when she pulled up old job offer documents with my digital signature. That's when she walked into that bank like she owned me. I sat on my kitchen floor, phone still buzzing with Meredith's updates, just staring at my fridge. Because now it wasn't just fraud. It was betrayal. Surgical. Calculated. Intimate. They did it while I was weak. They did it while pretending to take care of me. And they called it love. But there's something they forgot. When you corner a quiet girl, the one who always kept the peace, swallowed the anger, smiled through the burns, you better pray she never learns how to fight back. Because once I did. I didn't come for revenge. I came for justice. The house sat on a corner lot with trimmed hedges and a pale blue door, like it was trying to look innocent. Like it wasn't built with lies and theft and a signature that didn't belong to them. I drove by once. Just once. Gina was outside, barefoot in pajama pants, watering plants like she owned the sun. Her toddler squealed in the grass. My mother sat on the porch swing, sipping iced tea like some southern matriarch. They looked so peaceful. And for a second, a single flickering second, I felt guilt. But it passed. Because peace built on stolen bones isn't peace. It's a ticking clock. And I had the stopwatch in my hand. By then, the bank had officially reversed my cosigner status. The fraud report was in. My name was cleared with the credit bureaus. Meredith said they'd proceed accordingly, which was legal speak for, "We're coming for the deed." But we weren't done. Not even close. See, Gina and my mother assumed they'd get away with it because I'm quiet. Because I don't scream across rooms or throw plates like they do. But I document. Remember. I plan. I filed a civil suit for identity theft, emotional distress, and financial damages. Meredith served it on a Wednesday. Gina opened the door, baby on her hip, mascara half done, and signed for it with the same hand she used to forge mine. Poetic. 3 hours later, my mother called. First time in weeks. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't say sorry. She said, "How could you do this to your sister? She has a child." I blinked at the phone like it had slapped me. "She did this to me," I said quietly. "And you helped." My mother exhaled hard. "Camilla, we're family." "No," I whispered. "You're thieves." I hung up. Blocked her. Sat in the silence and let it wash over me. Then I went to the courthouse and submitted a motion for immediate foreclosure review. Because here's the thing they never saw coming. They thought I'd explode. They thought I'd cry, scream, beg. But I was done bleeding for people who sharpen knives behind my back. I wasn't going to break their house down with rage. I was going to let the law knock. Then watch it take everything they stole. The foreclosure notice arrived like a thunderclap. Plain white envelope, black ink, no warmth. Just cold bureaucracy stamped over everything they built on my back. They had 90 days to resolve the fraud, refinance, or vacate. And they were already 30 days in. Gina tried to play dumb at first. She posted sunny Instagram stories, brunches, baby playdates, backyard BBQs, pretending nothing was unraveling behind the curtains. But her captions started to slip. Hard days, but we're blessed. God gives his toughest battles to the strongest soldiers. I almost laughed. Because God didn't forge that mortgage. She did. I never responded publicly. Never clapped back or aired it online. I was silent. The kind of silence that creeps in like fog, wraps around you and chokes. That was scarier than yelling. And they felt it. On week 6, I got an email from the bank. They'd officially frozen the mortgage account. No further payments could be made. The fraud claim was validated. The case was escalating to internal legal. That meant foreclosure proceedings would begin. I stared at the screen. For so long. Then I packed the document in an envelope, labeled it clearly, and waited. See, every Sunday my mother hosts brunch. It's her thing, syrup-drenched pancakes and unsolicited opinions. All family, all smiles, all fake. So I showed up. Uninvited. Dressed in black. When I walked in, forks froze midair. Gina paled. My mother smiled tight. Well, look who finally decided to. I slid the envelope across the table. Fully. Deliberately. Like a guillotine blade. No words. Just paper and weight. Gina opened it with shaking hands. Read the first line. Blinked. Then read it again. No. No, this isn't real, she stammered. My mother snatched it from her and read it like it might rearrange itself. You're evicting your own sister? She spat. I met her eyes. Come. I'm not evicting anyone. The bank is. And then I said the words I'd been waiting weeks to say. You built a house on my name. Now watch it collapse under yours. I turned and walked out, past the syrup, the silence, and the shattering illusions. Behind me, I heard my sister start to cry. But I didn't flinch. Because tears don't erase theft. And love doesn't survive betrayal this deep. By the end of that week, their facade was crumbling faster than their mortgage. The post stopped. The brunches stopped. Even the passive-aggressive texts from Mom went silent. Gina called once, sobbing, hysterical, begging me to talk to the bank. I didn't mean to hurt you, Camilla. I didn't know what else to do. The baby needed space. We were drowning in rent. I let her talk. Let her cry. Then I asked one question. Did you hesitate? Even once, before forging my name? She went silent. I hung up. And that silence was louder than any apology she could fake. Meanwhile, my civil suit moved forward like a freight train. Meredith submitted financial records showing the boost Gina's credit got from my co-signature. Enough to qualify for the entire loan. She submitted screenshots of texts where my mother bragged about handling everything, and joked about how I wouldn't notice. That stung. Because my mother wasn't just complicit. She orchestrated it. She let her older daughter be collateral damage, so the younger one could play house. I got a letter the next day, handwritten, my mother's cursive still perfectly looped. It said, I hope you're happy. You've humiliated this family. Gina may lose her home. Your nephew might not understand, but one day, I hope you understand what you've done. I sat on the couch, turning the paper over in my hands. And I realized, my mother never asked for forgiveness. She only ever asked for silence. But that version of me, the quiet, compliant girl who made herself small to keep the peace, she was gone. That girl died the day I saw my name on a document I never signed. The new me doesn't do secrets. She doesn't carry guilt that doesn't belong to her. She doesn't play along to avoid the storm. She's the storm. So I returned the letter. Not with words, but with another delivery, the court's official filing, naming my mother as an accessory to identity theft. She used my name to build a life for someone else. Now I was using hers to dismantle it all. Because if they thought I'd stop at brunch, they don't know how thorough I can be when I'm finally wide awake. The court date arrived with the heaviness of a funeral. I wore navy. Clean lines, hair pulled back, no emotion. Just facts. Just fire under skin. Gina sat across from me, pale and trembling, clutching a tissue like it could save her. My mother sat beside her, stone-faced, jaw clenched so tight I thought it might snap. When the judge read the charges, identity theft, fraud, financial damages, Gina crumpled. I didn't mean to hurt her, she whispered, voice cracking. I just needed help. The judge didn't flinch. You needed help. So you forged your sister's name on a mortgage document without her knowledge. Gina nodded. Shame bloomed across her face. But it was too late for shame. Then they asked me to speak. I stood. Fully. My hands didn't shake. My name is Camilla Whitaker, I said clearly. And for years I've played the role of the quiet daughter. The helper. The one who says yes while the family takes. I looked straight at my mother. But I'm not that woman anymore. I turned to the judge. They stole my name. My credit. My trust. And they did it laughing as if I'd never notice. As if I didn't matter. The courtroom held its breath. I am not seeking revenge. I'm demanding consequences. The judge nodded. He ruled within the hour. Gina was to vacate the house within 30 days. Civil damages awarded to me in the amount of $48,000. My mother? Officially barred from co-signing any financial document using my identity again. They called it justice. But for me it was mourning. Because what died wasn't just trust. It was the version of family I thought I had. Later that night I drove by the house one last time. A moving truck was out front. Gina sat on the porch, her child in her lap, both of them watching pieces of their life get boxed up and carried away. She didn't see me, but I saw her. And I didn't feel powerful. I felt free. Because when someone builds their castle with stolen bricks, it's not your job to hold it up. Let it fall. Let them learn. The rain started falling as I drove away. But inside me, the sun finally rose. Took me months to untangle the mess they made in my name. My credit? Scarred but healing. My peace? Unearthed. Hard-earned. Untouchable. I moved into a small place near the lake. Just me, the quiet, and no one else's chaos. At first the silence scared me. No. It sings. I stopped answering my mother's calls. Her voicemails bounced between guilt and venom. You've destroyed this family. How could you do this to your sister's child? I raised you better than this. But she didn't raise me. She trained me to serve, to swallow pain, to bleed silently for the people who'd never lift a finger for me. And I'm done bleeding for cowards. The last time I saw her was at a grocery store. Aisle 7, boxed pasta. She looked older. Bitter. She walked up, arms crossed like a shield. You really think this makes you strong? She asked. I looked at her. Really looked. I don't think I'm strong, I said. I know I am. Because I walked away from you. Her mouth opened. Then shut. Like a door slamming on an old story. I turned and walked past her, slow and calm. She didn't follow. She never would again. Gina ended up renting a one-bedroom apartment near downtown. I hear she's back to working full-time, no more momfluencer dreams. She hasn't reached out. That part stings. But it also tells me everything I need to know. She loved the version of me that stayed silent. That let her steal. This one. She doesn't know how to love a woman who finally chose herself. But I love her anyway, from a distance so wide even lies can't cross it. You know what no one tells you? Justice isn't loud. It doesn't always come with applause or clarity. Sometimes it looks like a woman eating breakfast alone in peace. Sometimes it sounds like a phone that doesn't ring. And sometimes, it's just walking past the people who broke you, without needing them to know how deeply they did. Because you've already rebuilt yourself on truth. Brick by brutal brick.